Welcome to another episode of BOACast. I'm David. This is producer Duke. Hi there.
Hey, good to be here.
It's good to see you. Here at BOA, we talk about learning, laughs, relationships, and responsibility. And recently, I watched a sermon. I was going to say talk, but it was a sermon about drift and how it's easy for our behaviors to drift, how it's easy for our relationships to drift. And I think it's very on point for us to discuss a little bit.
Yeah, that sounds like an interesting topic for sure.
Yeah. So one of the key points that this guy brought up, it was a good point. Do you view your time with others as an appointment instead of a relationship? And do you set up a time to get together and you show up and then you're there, but you're not really there. You're just kind of there to get something done. That is one of the
off your list.
Yeah. Is this a checklist item, or are you really present and are you really loving the people around you? And there's room for both of those, right? There's room for appointments, but appointments don't really lead to relationships. Appointments are for a purpose. Appointments are, let's get together and knock this thing out. And if let's get together and knock this thing out is related to how you interact relationally, it's going to feel a little bit stilted, a little bit strange. So I don't know. Do you define those words the same way, Duke? Is that map for you?
Yeah, I think so. I think that relationships are built in unscheduled time.
Yeah.
For me, I find that real relationship building happens when you have time with someone where there's not a hard out,
Mm-hmm.
where you're not thinking about what do I have to do after this? What do I have to do next? What's next on my to-do list? You're just being present with that person for as long as they want to be with you or as long as they need.
Mm-hmm.
Putting that person's needs ahead of your own sometimes in
Yeah.
those situations where, they just really need to talk through this or they're going through a really hard time.
Yeah.
I can't be like, I got to go take out the trash right now. I can't sit here and listen to you talk about how your dad has cancer. Like, obviously an extreme example, but like in the grand scheme, there's a lot of things that we put as high priority. I think someone told me it's the urgent and important. There are things in life that are urgent but are not important, and there are things in life that are important but not urgent.
Yes.
And a lot of times we sacrifice the important things that are not urgent for the urgent things that are not important. And I think that is where people reach a point in their lives where they look back and say, what have I done with my life? Like these relationships were so important to me.
Yep.
And I let them fall into disrepair and neglect. These people were so important to me. How do I find my way back to that? And obviously the easiest way is to just not allow yourself to fall into that space in the first place. But building back a relationship that has fallen into disrepair can be challenging or impossible. Like sometimes it takes both sides to want to do that.
Yeah, it takes intentionality. For sure. Yeah, during the busiest phase of my adult life so far, things, who knows, could pick up again. But during the busiest phase of my adult life, I really knew where I was every 15 minutes of the day, right? Very scheduled out, very structured. And as a result, I had to specifically write down in the morning, who do I need to give attention to today? And often that was coworkers, right? Often it was people that I was working with or people that were working for me. Who do I need to give attention to? Who do I need to sit down and really listen to at a business level or at a personal level? And building that intentionality and making sure that I didn't go more than a few weeks without connecting with important people was important. I think there are folks who would say that I could have done that better for sure. But putting in that intentionality where each morning I had a reminder, like, who are your top 3 people you need to connect with today? And sometimes it was my wife, right? Sometimes it was a friend. And even though it was on my work calendar and the reminder was supposed to be related to work, sometimes my top priority for that day was actually make sure that my wife is okay. Or make sure that conversation that didn't go the way you wanted to the last time you got together with your buddy is resolved, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah. But I agree with
It's
you.
the little things. That's what drift is all about, is little decisions every day, choosing not to do something because it's hard or inconvenient.
Yeah.
And just letting it slide.
Mm-hmm.
And doing that repeatedly over time is what drift is.
Yeah.
That can be in your personal life. That can be saying, I don't want to go to the gym today. That can be saying, I can eat this extra cupcake or whatever. Like if it's about fitness, or just say, oh, I can do that chore tomorrow, or oh, my wife wanted me to do that thing, or she asked me to fix that broken thing. I could do it tomorrow. I don't need to do it right now. I'm just going to lay on the couch and watch TV. And like, that's how, that's an interesting one, because that's personal and emotional, or relational drift happening.
Yeah.
Because then when you're neglecting your wife's asking you to fix something like that, that hurts your relationship. It hurts the chances she's going to ask you to do it next time.
Yeah.
And you're choosing to choose yourself and your comfort over your spouse, that's a very easy way for relationships to start falling. But so yeah, it's rare that relationships and personal lives fall apart because of like one bad decision in a vacuum.
Mm-hmm.
It's repeated behavioral decisions that you do have control over in the moment. And you have to be able to be aware and recognize when you're choosing your own comfort or ease over what's right.
Yeah. So I hear one objection kind of loud and clear from my experience, largely dealing with men, right? But my experience dealing with men in particular, a lot of times they'll say, "Oh no, I have these friends that when I get back together with them, we reconnect like we were never apart, and we can go deep right away, and we can really care about each other, and it's all well and good." And yes, that unusually will be something that you experience, and is something I've definitely experienced. I have people that I go over a year without talking to, and then we connect, and it's amazing, right? But you don't have the closeness, right? The closeness isn't there,
Yeah.
and so the reconnection is easy. And usually, an immense amount of investment was made in order to reach that point in the first place, where you can reconnect quick, where you truly know that person in a way that you can predict how they're going to change, or you're both going to change in the same direction over time because you're so similar, right? So anyway, there's a lot of investment.
Yeah, that's the big thing. Like that can work for a few years really comfortably. You see your buddy like once a year, every 6 months.
Yeah.
But over time, with the different experiences, if you lack that closeness and you lack that connection, it does tend. It's not impossible for you to stay on the same trajectory or to both stagnate together. I guess that's also possible.
Yeah.
But you're growing apart as you grow, and he doesn't grow, or if he grows and you don't grow.
Yeah.
Or if you're both growing but not in the same direction. Um, you can get back together and recreate kind of where you last were close. It's kind of like they always talk about this with like you get together, they're like high school buddies or like friends in middle school. You tend to kind of revert back to how you know how to interact with that person, even if that's more immature and childish than how you actually are as an adult.
Yeah.
You just don't know. You don't know who they are anymore. You don't know.
Yeah.
And it's difficult to try and rebuild that.
Why does my husband get together with his high school friends and just sit around, watch TV, and fart? And they all laugh.
Play Halo.
They would laugh at stupid
Don't forget
jokes
about playing
and
Halo.
play Halo. Yeah, that's a specific example from our lives, by the way. The original Halo. Still have some get-togethers every now and then on that topic.
Mhm.
Yeah, interesting.
Original Halo and Mountain Dew. That's all we need.
Well, I really like that take. So mapping things kind of from the business environment and then bringing them more into the personal, as I have a tendency to do. When I was leading teams, I reached a point where I decided I am going to, and I told the people that worked for me this, and I tried to do this with my different bosses. Some of them were receptive, some weren't. But I tried to do this with all of the people that worked for me as I became a better manager. And that is, I have us on the calendar for a short meeting every week. We don't have to meet every week. And we can meet, sit down. How you doing? Everything going fine? What do you need from me? Right? And that can be it. And we can be in and out in 3 minutes. But if it's on my calendar and I miss one or two, it's okay. If we're on the calendar monthly and I miss one or two, we haven't talked for a quarter. And that's no good. That lets things sit for way too long. And my calendar fills. But here's the thing. The work that you're doing is important. And you feeling like you're making progress, you feeling like you're supported in that work, and me making the things you can't actually affect go away so that you can focus on the things you're core good at is so important that I am going to make sure that you're on my list as one of my priorities every week. And if you're too busy, cancel it. That's fine. But don't cancel it 2 or 3 times in a row, right? And I'll do the same. And that worked really, really well. The monthly one-to-ones, the every other week one-to-ones, those inevitably broke down and the work relationship suffered. The other thing I found, though, is when I started getting together with them weekly, I got to know them on a personal level and understand what was going on in their lives. And that allowed me at a few points to say, hey, you're dealing with this thing going on in your personal life. Go deal with it, right? Or, hey, would you rather put in a couple hours this evening and take the rest of the afternoon off? Would you rather work on Saturday and, take this afternoon off so you can be more involved with this thing that's going on? I know I'm being really vague, but one of my people, his wife had some serious medical issues and he just wasn't telling anybody. And once he told me, and then he was able to ask for flexibility, and I could offer him that flexibility, and I could cover for him, and I could make it so that he doesn't have to make it public knowledge that they had some personal stuff going on, and support them through that and give him the space he needed for that. And it was super, super important. So, that's an example of doing it well. I also, like earlier, you said it takes both people. I have someone I care about deeply. And during this really intense portion of my life, I was trying to get together with this person. And I offered all of the 1-hour time blocks that I had that entire month. And got turned down. And it really, it made me feel rejected. But from this other person's point of view, I offered 3 hours within an entire month. I was unavailable to them, right? And so we both kind of felt the friction in the relationship. Now, I don't, we each have our own perspective. I've told this story to you before. I think I'm not going to go too much more into the details. I was more offended because of the reason I was being turned down during a time I was available. But there's a lot that goes in there. So I think some intentionality in our relationships, especially the people we care about deeply. Part of the reason I talk about how this looks in work life, your most for most people, your most important relationship at work is your relationship with your direct manager, um, because they have so much influence on how positive or negative your work environment is. Not always.
Mm.
Sometimes your direct manager is caught in a situation where they're just trying to deal with what's coming at them, and they're caught in the squeeze. But that's one thing I would encourage, especially young people who are coming into the workforce. Your relationship with your direct manager is incredibly important. Um, don't view them as an enemy. Don't view them as a dictator. View them as a collaborator in this project you're trying to accomplish, of making the company successful. Um, but all that company stuff, that's stuff that I did pretty well. And the personal life relationships is suffered as a result of me putting so much focus into work. So what I want to encourage everyone else, on this front is make specific decisions to invest in relationships, to invest in the people you really care about, and not take for granted that they feel the same way or that their needs are being met, right? Try to reach out and take care of them. I've said on stream and in recorded videos many, many times, if you're lonely, be the person who reaches out and is a friend to somebody else. I think that's incredibly important. If you are the one who's reaching out, if you are the one who's attempting to to solve that problem for someone else, it will be a much better scenario. Yeah, and you'll solve that problem indirectly by caring for others. They'll reciprocate and care for you. So I don't know. Any more to say about that?
Not a lot. Just I think this really ties in nicely with our relationships pillar.
Yeah,
Um, and I'm excited to see us talk about more things that tie the relationships in the future.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Duke, it's
'Cause
it's
I
kind
think
of it's kind of interesting because I
there's a really
think,
serious need for it.
yeah, I agree. Well, and I can't wait to hear more from you on the relationships pillar, because I believe that this is the one that I struggle the most with. And I have reason to believe that this is one that you've done very well in your adult life. So I'm excited to hear more from you, because I can talk about the importance, and I can talk about how things went well, why they went well, and how things went badly for me. But I look forward to hearing more from you.
Well, thank you.
Anyway, thanks for being here. Feel free to ask us questions in the comments. Give us suggestions for things you want us to talk about, especially if they're related to learning, laughs, relationships, and responsibility, the 4 pillars of becoming our age. We're just trying to help you think about how to be a well-balanced adult, who is set up for a long-term purpose, and clarity about what you're about.